too. Welcome, everybody. We're back with Hooman. Hooman, share what's happening.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for having me back. And thank you to those of you who are here with us live. Love you, Ira. Love you, Jeremy. Love you, Kathleen and David. I just unveiled a mural in Berkeley, California. And maybe I shouldn't have let the cat out of the bag so quickly, but so a little bit of background on me. I am the only artist in the world asked by the state of Israel to make murals on support of the Iranian women who are fighting for their freedom. At the end of the day, we need to remember these women in Iran do not want to cover their hair. So at its very base, at the very least, we're just talking about showing your hair. And these women get shot in the head for it. They get publicly lashed. They get maimed. Parts of their bodies get shot off. And so these women are fighting. They're fighting hard. And, every book, every movie, every television show right now is about female superheroes. We have real female superheroes in Iran, and no one's talking about it. It virtually gets no press coverage. 95% of our world news is about Gaza, 5% of our world news is about Ukraine, and the other 30 wars in the world are ignored. I'm going to give you a quick overview of the murals I've done in Israel to date, and then I'm going to show you this mural in Berkeley. So let me share my screen here. All right. So that's the first mural in Jerusalem. Those four women all killed by the Islamic regime. Now, this was a big deal because when we unveiled this mural in Jerusalem, it was the first mural in the Middle East in support of the Iranian women. And because it was the first mural, the eyes of the world came. All the press from around the world came to Israel. And for a brief moment, one day, Israel had incredibly good press. And everyone was like, wow, Israel, the only country in the Middle East standing with the women of Iran. The second mural is here in Nazareth. Now, look, I'm a Christian. I love Jesus. But when I think of Nazareth, I think of this as Jesus' hometown. He lived there from the age of 4 to 29. But today, modern day Nazareth, even though it's in Israel, is entirely Arab. 70% Muslim, 30% Christian. So there was some pushback doing this mural. But lo and behold, it's there. All 15 of these people murdered by the Islamic regime. And I put their names and their ages here. And then it was on this mural that I put this phrase, it's time for the Esthers of the world to rise up. And I put that there because it's a woman-led revolution. It is a nod to the strength and the power of women. And this being International Women's Day, I'm glad you get to see the phrase. As I mentioned, one of the things they do is they'll hurt women who show their hair. So this is woman's eye was shot out. They took a little gun and they shot out one of her eyes. Found this artist in Budapest. This is what she does for people without an eye. And so I called her and I said, "Listen, I'm gonna steal this design." And she gave me her blessing. This is another woman, and you can see they target the most beautiful women. I mean, that's on purpose, just so you know. So this is the fourth mural here in Netanya. And you can see Esthers of the World Rise Up. I use the nightingale. This is the bird of Iran, by the way. And then the fifth mural is right here. And this is also in Netanya. And this is the bird of Israel. It's called the hoopoe in English. So these two murals are sister murals, and they're reminding you of the brutality of the Islamic regime, how heartless they are. This mural in particular I love because I put her, this is in Netanya. So Netanya is north of Tel Aviv. It's right on the beach. It's a beach town. There's been a mass exodus out of France, of Jews leaving France, and they settle in Netanya. So if you go to Netanya, when you go to the restaurant, the menus are in English, Hebrew, and French. It's crazy. It's like the only city that has menus in French. So this is the Eastern Gate around the Temple Mount, the Gate of Mercy. This is the Golden Gate. So I live in San Francisco. The Golden Gate Bridge is named after this. It's named after the Golden Gate. And then here you go, the Esters of the world rise up. I'm going to show you something biblical because I'm going to come back to it, just so you're aware. In the Bible, there's this very peculiar verse. It's in the Old Testament. Jeremiah 49:38. I will set my throne in Elam and destroy her kings and officials, declares the Lord. Over and over again, you see in the Bible, God says, I'm going to set my throne in Jerusalem. I'm going to put my throne on Zion. I'm going to put my throne in Israel. Over and over, you hear this theme. But then you've got this one obscure verse in Jeremiah. So what the heck is Elam? This is Elam. Elam is Iran. Iran is Elam. Elam is Iran. So I just want you to know that this God is saying, my first throne is going to be in Israel, but I love the Persian people. I love them. And there's only two places in the world where I'm going to have a throne, Israel and Iran. After I did these murals in Israel, the Islamic regime came up with their own mural, and they were specifically in response to the 4 murals in Israel. This is the mural they came up with. It's a mural of an atomic bomb. And on the atomic bomb, they wrote in Hebrew, 400 seconds to Tel Aviv. So it did garner a reaction. Let me show you who Mahsa Amini is. This is Mahsa Amini, the first woman killed by the Islamic regime. She's Kurdish. So the Kurdish people have lived in Iran for 1,200 years, and they're treated horribly to this day. You think after, 100 years or so, we could elevate them to being treated like the rest of the Persians, but they're not. Comes from a very poor Kurdish village, very beautiful girl. And she's sort of the centerpiece of this whole woman-led revolution. She was beaten to death for having a little bit of her hair out of her hijab, kind of like this right here. I don't love that picture of her. I don't think she's magnificent enough. Worked with AI, came up with that picture of her. Turned that picture into a mosaic. And then I put all the faces of all the Persians who were killed or put in prison in her face. So this is the 8th mural, and this mural is hugely significant. And the reason it's significant is because they gave me the second most important place in all of Jerusalem behind the Temple Mount. They gave me the Museum of Tolerance. And this is on the Museum of Tolerance in the city center of Jerusalem. And this mural has the 2 verses I was telling you about on it. Jeremiah 3:17. In that day, Jerusalem will be known as the throne of the Lord, and all the nations will gather in Jerusalem to honor the Lord. No more shall they follow the dictates of their stubborn, evil hearts. And this woman, who's this woman, you ask? This woman is a Persian Jew who was killed by Hamas on October 7th. Her name is Sherelle Haimpour. So of the 15.5 million Jews in the world, 500,000 of them are Persian Jews. 4% of all the Jews in the world are Iranian Jews. And I turned her face into a mosaic as well, and I put all the faces of all the people killed on October 7th in her face. It's a very powerful statement. You've got the first piece of paper that shows both places where God's going to have his throne. First time ever in the history of the world. Sherelle, Mahsa Amini, side by side. All right, let's fast forward to here's my 9th mural in Israel. I'll just break it down for you. Whenever you pull up the verse about Elam, no one knows where Elam is. I had them draw a map. This is Queen Esther. The whole book of Esther takes place in Iran. And there's a very famous verse in Esther. It's Esther 4:14, which everyone boils down to, you were chosen for such a time as this. So I put that above her head. This woman, her name is Kosar, and she did archery for Iran, and she won silver medal for Iran. And then she walked with the women, so they shot out one of her eyes so she couldn't do archery anymore. So I put her on a lion with a bow and arrow in her hand. There's Sherelle, and then I created this symbol here to reunite Iran and Israel and to remind the world that the Persians have been the friends of the Jews for 3,000 years. 3,000 years. When the Jews wanted to leave Iran and rebuild Solomon's temple, King Cyrus allowed them to leave, and he paid for it. He paid for that temple to be rebuilt. The whole book of Esther. And then in the New Testament, when Jesus was born, who did God call to bring the gifts to Jesus? The gold, the frankincense, called the Magi. All the Magi are Persian. It's hugely significant. Every time God says, who is going to stand with the Jews? The Persians say, we will. And so in that spirit, I'm still standing with the Jewish people. All right. So where are we right now? Let me tell you where we are. I had a group of conservative Jews and a group of liberal Jews come to me after I did my 6th or 7th mural in Israel, and they said, you have to do a mural in the most anti-Semitic city in the Bay Area. And I said, what's the most anti-Semitic city? And they said, it's Berkeley. You know, you do a little bit of research, you see how much the Jewish people are harassed in Berkeley, you see the laws being passed by UC Berkeley, and they're not wrong. So all of the people that came to me and said, hey, do this mural, none of them would lift a finger to help me find a wall. None of them. So I went to the JCC for a talk about the state of Israel, and I stood up and I shared what I do, and I said, and I want to do a mural in Berkeley. And everybody had this nervous laughter. Oh, 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 oh. And I said, will someone help me? Will someone in this room help me find a wall? And the woman who invited me said, I forgot I'm on a WhatsApp group with the Jews of Berkeley. Let me send them a message. It's always the case. There's one person who's very active on these chat threads. And in this case, the woman's name is Ilana Perlman. And she calls me and she goes, I'm going to help you get a wall. I'm going to stand with you as you stand with the women of Iran. And in 1 week, she got me a wall. And 26 days after I met her, the mural went up. And the mural went up 2 days ago in Berkeley. And here is the mural. And I'm going to break it down for you so you understand what you're looking at. But this is the mural at night. It's 25 feet long and it's 10 feet high. So let's start here. Here is Masa Amini. Here's Sherelle Haimpour. And here is a woman named Hananeh Kia. Hananeh Kia. And these 3 women were all killed by the Islamic regime or their proxies. This one killed by Hamas, and these 2 killed by the Islamic regime. The background of this mural is the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus walked on water, and other significant things happen there as well. So I literally brought the Holy Land to Berkeley. I brought Israel to Berkeley. I'm very proud of that. In the left-hand corner, you have a woman riding a lion with a sword in her hand. You have the Lion of Judah outside the Temple Mount. And then you have the original Zoroastrian symbol of Iran, which is a lion holding a sword with the sun rising at its back. And I put this Bible verse here because this Bible verse really encapsulates the strength of women. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she can laugh at the days to come. Proverbs 31:25. So this is what you have on the left side of the mural. On the right side of the mural, it's a little bit more complex. Who are these 4 men? What is this Persian artist's Mount Rushmore? These 4 men, through poetry and song, have been supporting this woman-led revolution. The woman who's like the #1 advocate for this man here named Tumaj, she came up and spoke. This guy's name is Shervin Hajiapur. The Grammys gave him a Grammy for creating the song that brought forth the most social change, the most social impact. As a result of winning the Grammy, he won a Grammy, and the Islamic regime said, for winning a Grammy, we are putting you in prison for 3 years and 8 months. And he wasn't even there to accept it. He watched from his home. This gentleman here, I believe, was recently murdered. Saman. I think Mehdi was able to escape Iran. And then next to these guys, I put another Bible verse. And it's Matthew 15, 29, 31. It's the first time I put a New Testament Bible verse in any mural. But the verse says, Jesus went on from there and walked beside the Sea of Galilee. And he went up on a mountain, sat down there. Great crowds came to him, bringing with them the lame, the blind, the crippled, and the mute, with many others. And they put them at his feet, and he healed them. So the crowd marveled when they saw the mute speaking, the crippled healthy, the lame walking, the blind seeing, and they glorified the God of Israel. It was important to have a verse that identified the Sea of Galilee. So that's the one I went with. Who's this guy right here? I'm going to tell you who this guy is. His name is Mohammed, and Mohammed was hung 41 days ago. And he was hung for walking with the women of Iran. And they called his mom 1 or 2 hours before they hung him and said, "We're about to hang your son." And she went on social media and she begged the world. She begged the world. She said, "Someone please save my son. Someone please save my son." And no one saved her son. And he was hung. And the reason I put Muhammad in, because they hang 3 people a day right now. 3 people a day are hung, sometimes publicly, sometimes privately, is because I watched that video of his mom crying for him 100 times. I sat in my room and I just cried and I watched it again and I watched it again. And the whole theme of these murals is ultimately one thing. We are here to give a voice to the voiceless. There are many murals made of these 3 women, and there is a ton of recognition of these 4 men, but no one is talking about Muhammad. No one, not one person. I mean, we talk about him briefly. And so when you think about giving a voice to the voiceless, this one gentleman here encapsulates that idea. And I hope and pray his mom sees this mural, knows that somebody remembered her son, and her son is in Berkeley, California, looking up to the musicians and to the women. So one last thing, and then I'll open it up. What did it take to create this? Obviously, it's a complex design. So let's just start here. Because a lot of these people are in Iran and I can't really be in touch with them from an artistic standpoint, I have to find, because this is a printed mural. I talked to a couple graffiti artists, but they got nervous. They said, it's too political. It's too political. So I called my buddy. He prints the murals for the NBA. And he said, all right, bro, I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to have my guys. I'm going to give you a big discount. So when you do it this way, you have to get high resolution pictures. There's a German artist, Persian German artist. He created this picture of Hananeh. I called him up and I said, hey, can I use this image? So this one was done by that guy. This is Sherelle. I got the picture from her family. I created Masa Amini in AI. And you saw the picture of her earlier. No way in her wildest dreams would she ever have an outfit like this. Never, never. And I chose these colors because these are the colors of Iran, green and red and white. As you can see up here, these are the colors of the Iranian flag. And so I wanted Masa to look royal, special, regal. So that's what it took on this side. And then on this side, once again, worked with an artist in Canada who lives in Jerusalem. Chinese guy, his name is Ryan. We created this Mount Rushmore. And then I found another German artist, another Persian German, and I said, look, there's no way I can get in touch with Mohammed's family. Can you draw me a picture of him looking up? And he did. So those are the elements that it took. I composited it all together. I had this whole image in my mind to begin with, and I sort of put it all on paper. And then, I work with other designers, and with design, as there's a site and there's an eye line and there's a lot of things you have to factor in. And so putting Esters of the World Rise Up is hugely important. And then putting these colors up top like that you know, these are the things that me and the designers sort of worked out. And then we found a part of the Sea of Galilee that actually had a natural mountain attached to it. So we just created the Mount Rushmore there. So there it is. We now have a mural in Berkeley. Praise the Lord. Arguably the most anti-Semitic city in the Bay Area. And the women of Iran are remembered there, as well as the men who support the women and Mohammed. Thanks so much. Have a great day, everybody. If anybody has any questions or any thoughts, please let me
That's
know.
amazing. And I'll stop the.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. What'd you say, David?
Go ahead, David.
I was just gonna stop this recording, and then we can ask.